Welcome back to Auntie Tay. So today, my mom is going to show you how to epoxy on fabric. You just buy fabric somewhere at a crafting store and you put it on there, put epoxy, and I'm going to show you. So don't forget to click subscribe, comment, big thumbs up, and all that crazy stuff. So let's get to it.
Alrighty, so for our fabric covered tumbler, we are going to use Mod Podge. You can use the high gloss, the regular gloss, or the matte, depending on what you want. I am going to cover this with epoxy, so I wanted to use high gloss just to keep it as glossy as possible. So I'm just going to cover the entire cup. You can put the tumbler on your hand for this process. You don't have to keep it on a cup turner, but you just want to get a smooth coat all the way around the cup, but you kind of want to work quickly because you want the Mod Podge to stay wet. It doesn't dry too fast, but you do want it to be even, and it's going to take a second to get our fabric exactly how we want it, so you want to work pretty quickly. So I'm just going to drape my pre-cut fabric. It's just a little bit bigger than my cup, and I'm going to start with one straight line going down the complete cup. If you're using a cup that's not as different shaped as this, like if it's straight, this is a lot easier, but it ended up being pretty easy to do, and it just takes a couple seconds for you to straighten out all the little wrinkles. So just slowly work your way around. I started on one side and worked my way around, just slowly pushing all the air bubbles out and getting that fabric to be really smooth. It seems like it wouldn't be smooth right away, and then as soon as you start doing it, you notice that it just works like magic. It's really cool. Okay, so you'll notice that the fabric also starts to go upward in one direction and it'll go downward on the other direction because the cup is not symmetrical. Well, it's symmetrical, it's just not, I don't know how to explain that it's bigger on the top and smaller on the bottom. So just work your way around getting all the fabric completely flat. If you do want to do sections of Mod Podge, you can as well. If you feel like you need to go a little bit slower for this, you can Mod Podge little sections at a time and then just work your way around. But it really isn't that hard, and once you get the hang of it, you'll realize that it's super simple. Okay, so I'm going to take the other side after that is completely flattened down. There's no ridges, and I'm just going to pull it over so that the fabric kind of overlaps. You don't want it to overlap a ton. You just want it to make sure that the entire cup is covered. So I'm going to use some more Mod Podge just on this part to make sure that that fabric has some Mod Podge to adhere to, because there's no Mod Podge on top of the fabric that we just laid down. So I'm going to make sure that that gets all the air bubbles out, and then I'm going to cut off the excess fabric. I just left extra fabric just because I wanted to make sure that there was enough fabric to cover the entire cup. So you can do extra fabric, or you can eyeball it and make sure that you have, you know, a good amount of fabric. You don't want to waste too much fabric doing this. Just make sure it's really smooth. Again, keep a baby wipe by you, because you can see I'm using my hands on this Mod Podge. It's going to get real shiny once I put epoxy on it. So I'm just going to double down on the Mod Podge on the edges just to make sure that it's all down, get any of those little scraps of fabric off, and then really make sure it's down really well. And then we're going to let that dry, and we're going to cut off our extra fabric on the bottom. I did leave a little extra so that I could Mod Podge it around the edges, so that when it's sitting on a table you don't see the fabric where the fabric ends. So I just Mod Podged this down. And again, with fabric, you want to have Mod Podge over and under the fabric. So then I'm going to do that on the top. The top's a little bit more tricky because you have to have room for a lid, but I did just leave a little bit of extra fabric so that I could Mod Podge it over the top. And again, we're going to cover this with epoxy eventually, so the Mod Podge will be covered. So I'm just going to start by Mod Podging the seam, but I'm going to cover this entire cup with Mod Podge, and we're going to let it dry completely. This does take a little bit of Mod Podge, but when these cups are done, they're super cute and super fun. and the ability to get Mod Podge is super easy. So if you need help on the epoxy, make sure to watch my epoxy step 1 and step 2 series to teach you how to do epoxy. But I epoxied this cup and it turned out so cute.
So if you didn't know who I am Auntie Tay's daughter, Brightly, and please give a big thumbs up to this video, subscribe, all that crazy stuff, and please go to my channel, Little Life of Brightly. Brightly is spelled B-R-Y-L-I-E, and it should click up, and please subscribe, comment down below, and everything. Bye!